The states that were hit the hardest by the foreclosure wave during the mortgage crisis were Florida, Nevada, Arizona, and California, which are indicated in this chart by various shades of green. These were also the states that had seen the largest home value increases leading up to the real estate bubble before 2006. I guess you could say that the principle of what goes up has to come down applied to home values at that time. By 2008, the situation in Florida had gotten particularly bad. Here, over 8% of all mortgages were in foreclosure. As you can see, Florida was particularly hard hit by the crisis. The Freddie Mac House Price Index for Florida, you can see here, showed that the index dropped by almost 50% from early 2006 to early 2012. This chart shows that the category of mortgages called subprime adjustable rate mortgages, or subprime ARMs, went into default at the highest rate. That is why the mortgage crisis received its nickname subprime mortgage crisis. The fact that these mortgages had a high default rate was no surprise, as these types of mortgages are considered the riskiest. A subprime borrower is a borrower with a low credit score and high lending risk. At the end of 2007, 5% of all subprime ARMs were in default in the US, while only about 1% of all prime ARM mortgages were in default. Now let's turn our attention to what the burst of the real estate bubble did for the home building or development industry. Here you see new housing starts of single and multi-family units between 2000 and 2012. New housing starts peaked in 2006 at about 2.3 million, but decreased significantly to only about 500,000 in early 2009. As you can see, the development industry was hit extremely hard by the real estate market downturn. But more on that in the chapter on the topic of real estate development. On this chart, you can see the quarterly home ownership rate in the US between 1900 and 2018. The homeownership rate tells you what percentage of the American population own their own home. The US homeownership rate was at an all-time high of almost 70% in 2004, right before the height of the real estate market. But given the burst of the real estate bubble and the increase in home foreclosures during the mortgage crisis, it is no surprise that the US homeownership rate has dropped since then. In the beginning of 2018, it was at 64.2%. For comparison purposes, take a look at the homeownership rates for different countries. The US homeownership rate is roughly the same as it is in many other Western developed countries like France, the Netherlands, and the United Kingdom. But many countries have rates that are quite a bit higher, such as many Eastern European countries. Factors such as government and tax subsidies, the ease of obtaining a mortgage, home prices, legal and regulatory systems, and cultural patterns all play a significant role in determining home ownership rates. Interestingly, in Germany, my home country, only about 53.4% of people owned their own home in 2011. In Germany, many people rent their home. The main reasons for that are the high costs to build a house and the relatively high home values in Germany, as well as the fact that the legal system in Germany is highly protective towards tenants. Another very important factor that affects real estate markets is the level of interest rates. This chart shows the interest rate levels for 30-year fixed-rate mortgages between 1971 and 2018. If you look closely, you can see that after 2005, interest rates went up, which was one of the contributing factors for the mortgage crisis. Interesting, since the mortgage crisis occurred, interest rates have dropped to under 4% in 2016, but homeownership rates still decreased because people could not easily borrow anymore, as lending standards had gotten very strict. Many people either did not have the money available for a down payment or the necessary credit score to get approved for a loan. Here you see the number of people employed in all real estate related occupations. As it's shown in this chart, the number of people working in the field of real estate has increased consistently between 1972 and 2002. While I have not been able to find more updated data for this chart, the chart is still very interesting. Remember that the people employed in the real estate field sell real estate knowledge and thereby represent the supply of real estate knowledge. This chart therefore indicates that employment in real estate and therefore the supply of real estate knowledge has increased over those years. I was able, however, to collect more recent data on the employment of select real estate related occupations from the Bureau of Labor Statistics website. This chart shows how many people were employed as appraisers, property managers, real estate brokers, and real estate salespersons between 2000 and 2016. We can see that in 2016, more people were employed in these occupations than in 2000. In 2007, at the high point, almost 450,000 people were employed in these four occupations. Then the employment dipped down until 2010 due to the mortgage crisis, which clearly affected how many people were employed in the real estate industry. However, since 2010, these real estate occupations have rebounded. Next, I want you to take a closer look at the equilibrium price for real estate knowledge. This equilibrium price can be measured by the average annual wages in real estate occupations. Here you see a table that contains the mean annual wages in the US in dollars in several different real estate occupations. I had to squeeze in a lot of numbers in this table and make them really small for all of them to fit onto one screen. As you can see, it is not only difficult to read the numbers, but it is also hard to interpret the data and detect any trends just looking at the table. That is why it is a good idea to convert these numbers into a chart, to visualize them better and bring them to life, which is part of your Chapter 1 assignment. There are a few things I want to mention about this data. If you look closely at the data, you can see that people across these occupations made more money in 2016 compared to 2000. Also, across all occupations in the US, people made more money every year between 2000 and 2016. However, the wages of real estate salespersons and real estate brokers were negatively affected by the 2007 real estate downturn. For example, the wages for real estate salespeople decreased each year between the years 2007 and 2011 due to the mortgage crisis. A real estate salesperson is someone who is licensed and who is an intermediary between buyers and sellers in a real estate transaction. Each salesperson has to have his or her license registered under a real estate broker to be eligible to earn a commission. We will be discussing the compensation of real estate salespeople and brokers in more detail in the real estate brokerage chapter. Anyways, it is no surprise that real estate salespeople and brokers made less after the crisis as the number of transactions and home values dropped. Note another interesting observation. Real estate brokers earn the most on average of these four occupations listed here. The reason for that is because brokers can have an unlimited number of salespeople registered under their license. Brokers keep a percentage or split of the commission earned by their salespersons or sales associates when a real estate transaction closes. Their income can therefore be quite high and is higher on average compared to salespersons. Another important fact about real estate compensation I want to point out is that the distribution of wages for real estate salespersons and broker is very skewed as opposed to falling under a bell-shaped curve. That means the majority of them don't make much money, but a few earn a lot. They even have the potential to earn millions of dollars per year. Salespeople and brokers have the potential to make an almost unlimited amount of money, as they could technically sell an unlimited number of high-valued properties per year in addition to buying and selling real estate on their own account. In each transaction, they make a commission that is based on the sales price of the property. On the other hand, appraisers, those who estimate the value of a property for a fee, and property managers, those who manage commercial and residential real estate for a salary, pretty much all make about the same amount, which is about the average for that industry. Appraisers get a pretty standard fee per appraisal, and there's only so many appraisals that can be done in a year due to time constraints. Property managers get a set salary, which only varies slightly across property types and geographic regions. In other words, appraisers and property managers cannot scale their services. The main finding from analyzing this table is that wages in real estate occupations have increased between 2000 and 2016. This means that the equilibrium price for real estate knowledge has increased. On the previous slide, we also saw that more people were working in real estate related occupations in 2016 compared to 2000. Since more people are employed in this field, we can say that the supply of real estate knowledge has also increased. The conclusion we can draw from these observations is that demand for real estate knowledge must have increased by more than the supply, since the price for real estate knowledge has gone up. In the Chapter 1 homework assignment, you get to collect the most recent data and analyze if this trend has continued. And this is the end of our first chapter.